first thing we gotta do is we gotta pop this off. Those come off pretty easy. And then I'll get you in here a little closer. There we go. Okay. So now it has the outside ring that's connected with these 3 screws, right? It has this little clip on it that's designed to keep that nut, that 11/16 nut, in place in case it loosens off, so the steering wheel doesn't pop off in your hands. So we'll get this pulled. The easiest way to do this is just use your spreader pliers, just like this. Just takes it right off. And this is a newer model because it has the star bits in it. It's going to be a number, it's going to be a T20, of course. So I'm going to say this is going to be a newer model. And these were not in there very tight at all. This one's been down for a bit. This is actually the steering column that was in the yellow truck covered in tar that I got the engine out of. And I know that the lock is busted. Doesn't need a key, but we're going to fix that. Okay. So, got 3 pieces involved here. Got the actual drum, the plastic piece, which you cannot buy, and a separator plate that goes in between there. Right. This main nut is going to be a 13/16, and these just make your life easy. Just use the impact on it. Here comes the fun part. Now we got to get this steering wheel off of this hub, and I can guarantee you we're not going to get lucky enough for it to just pull, because it's been on there for a long time. So we're going to have to use a puller for this. I'm just going to use a simple puller and some nice and long, coarse threaded 5/16 bolts, because there's 2 nice little lugs right inside that steering wheel to put these in through. And you just tighten her down until they're even, until the end. You can see that the pushing rod is right up against the snout of the steering column itself. And then we're just going to use good old Cressy. Just going to put some pressure on it. We're just going to do it nice and slow until it pops off the hub. This thing is tweaking. It was on there. There it went. I felt the give. There it went. I'll show you. I'll show you. Look how bent this one is. That's how much tweak it took to get that to break loose. I was going to get that by hand. Probably wasn't the right puller for this, but it doesn't really matter to me. I just wanted it off. Yep, she bent her good. But that's how set these can get over 40 years. Ooh, lordy. Yep, she's bent. All right, that one's going in the scrap bin. We'll actually see if we can save this one. I think I'll run it through the dishwasher and see what happens. Next is the dust cover. And it just basically pops off. Okay, off. Complete pain. Okay, now comes the fun one. This is the fun one. This is that locking tab bar. And this has got a little right in here. Right in here, inside here, is a little ring. So you have to compress this to get that little ring out past the shaft. Then we can get to the guts of the deal, but it's real simple. I have a puller. Okay, and to do this, I have the tool. This is mine. I own this. I've had this for years, and it's one of those specialty tools that you can go to O'Reilly's and borrow this, but it's just so much easier on a Sunday afternoon to just do it yourself and have it. So I highly highly recommend getting one of these yourself. Okay, so it's just a real simple tool. It just threads itself on to the stud, and then you give you a better view here. It threads itself on, and then you use the wing nut to, I'll get you in here closer so you can see it happening here. It's basically just going to press this bar back in there so I can get that little snap ring out. See, look how simple that works. But man, if you try to do this with just hand tools on your own, you are going to lose your mind. Okay, I'll get you in here so you can see. This is the ring you're talking about, and it's got a little gap in it, and basically you just got to pick underneath it and get it worked out past. You got to get it up out of this lip and up onto this part, and then you can work it out. And then this releases everything on the inside here so that you can work on it. Again, another tedious little job. So basically you just got to dig it out of the groove. You dig it out of the groove, and you take a screwdriver while it's out of the groove, and you come in behind it, and you basically just work it out around until it pops off. And once it pops off, then the hard part is done. Okay, now it's just a matter of releasing the pressure off of it and letting the locking plate come past it like this. All right, and you're going to need this tool again to put it back in place. Okay, so don't put it up yet. And then this piece just basically slides off the end. You just gotta work it off the end, and there's your locking ring. That's the key to this whole thing, is that one little piece. Okay, then this plate basically just works its way off, and you have a spring that goes behind this. See, spring that goes behind this, and that goes in the green plastic piece there, and that little spring's got a little nub on it. Can you see it? That little nub. Yeah, the little nub. That little nub goes right in that and twists in like there. Okay, so that's that part. Everything's staying together. And we're gonna work this, and then this plate comes off, and we'll clean that. And then this is your horn stub right here. That works its way off. Okay. That actually doesn't have any kind of like a specific way it goes on. You can just kind of like shove that wherever you want. Okay, now here's the guts of the matter. All right, so we have turn signal assembly, which does work pretty good, I will say. All right, so this part's got to come out, and the button for the hazard lights got to come out, so we can get this out of the way, so we can get to the lock cylinder, because we're gonna have to replace it because it's busted too. You guys want to know how to piss off the neighbors on a Sunday afternoon? Start one up with open headers, with the door open. It's a lot of fun. Like, share, and subscribe. You guys know all this stuff. All right, keep all this together. So one little spot on the, then there's 3 screws that hold this in. Oh, and then you have a spring right here. You need to keep that spring. That spring keeps the tension on the backing plate, keeps tension on everything for all the little mechanisms to work. All right, and yeah, okay. Oh yeah. This one has not ever been apart. See, what I'm seeing here and what I'm showing is that they kind of just beat the shit out of this thing. And they wired around. There was a starter switch on this thing. There wasn't. The key switch was just to turn on for the ignition switch. So we might be changing out the ignition switch mechanism here. And remember, there's a little spring in there. Get a little spring, you need to keep that little spring in place, because if you don't, it ain't gonna work right. This should just pull, yes. Remember, save all the screws, because if you lose these are hard to find, or you're gonna have to take one apart to get to it. And then we need a little bit more. All right, screws. Okay, and now the ignition, all this stuff has got this harness back here, and there's a lot of room. You can just basically just shove this up in here. Do enough space to be able to pull it out and get it out of your way. All right, now we're gonna flip this over because I want to see which kind of assembly on this I have. Yes. All right, I'll get you some light. I'll get you in here. I'll show you. It's this one, this one, this one, and this one. There's 4, okay, that bolt this hub in place. Now, if this was a 73 through 78, there would be an opening right here to take this key cylinder out, but there isn't. It's right here. This is your stud to pull this out. This is going to be a newer model, probably 79 through 84 model steering column. Because if it was 73 through, and if you've seen my other video, I would have to run a piece of metal through this slot to unhook that tab on that lock cylinder and fix it. But since we have this, then we ain't got to worry about that. Thank the Lord. All right, like I said, all I did was I pulled that stud out of that hole right. Let me get you focused right there, that one. Okay, so this little stud is what goes through that hole and gets screwed in and locks this in place. Okay, so this one's busted, but that right there, that's the difference as opposed to one of the ones that has the pop-up stud on the back, because I don't have to try to wiggle it and mess with it. It took me 5 seconds to take that out. Where the last one I did, if you've seen that video, if you want to check it out, it'll be up in here somewhere right now. That one was a complete nightmare. That took me 10 minutes of dinking with it the first time, and then I put it back in. It was one tooth off on the little cam inside here for the stud. And I had taken it apart. It took me 5 minutes to get it out, even after I'd done it one time. And they're just a terrible design, but very good. So we're going to go to Parts Star. We'll get one of those. Let's see if I can get some light. Okay, that one right there. That little cam. That little cam controls the stud that's supposed to come out of here and lock it in place and lock it where you can't mess with it. There we go. Ooh. It's also almost messed up. Now that should make it where we can see. I actually think that thing is busted. I think the lock cylinder, I think somebody tried to steal it at one time. Okay, we've had to go a little bit deeper into this one, so we're going to have to get a little bit more stroke on this iron harness. So the easiest way to do that is just take the mounting hub off this. So it's just a 1/2-inch bolt. It's just a couple of short stubbies. Those short stubby bastards. So we can get a little bit more stroke on this and get this wiring harness a little bit farther out of the way. that just comes out of the way. Again, put the pieces back where you got them. And on the table it goes. All right, this gives you a little bit more stroke. There's actually just a little plastic harness in here, and it'll let you see. It'll give you a lot more stroke, so you can get some stuff pulled out here. Okay, I figured out why they had a switch on it, because the stub that comes out here to lock the cylinder place also is the ignition switch, which is the rod that goes right here that engages the ignition switch. Okay, so this is all bunged up inside of here, messed up, stuck on, okay, stuck forward. So that's why they set up a ignition switch on it, because it was on all the time. So we're just going to take this apart. First thing to do is just go ahead and take this ignition switch off and free this rod up, so I can get some more stroke and probably get this off and see exactly what we're dealing with here. All right, again, we're probably just going to buy a new one of those just to be safe. And then again, just put the screws back in where they go. This is the rod that's down through the shaft that when you hit the key, this moves forward and it's supposed to engage the ignition switch. There's a little slot right here, and when that moves, there's a little slot right here that rod goes into, and when it moves, it turns everything on. That's your ignition switch, on and off. Okay, so if this is messed up, if this part is messed up and it's not moving that rod correctly, ignition switch doesn't work, which I'm almost going to bet you, this is pretty old, but I'd almost bet you if I put this on and test it, it's probably going to work, but we're not going to take a chance. Since we already got it off and we're already in here, we're going to get a new one. All right. You want to see something crazy? They had this thing hot wired. They had it all messed up for this little rod. Okay, and this little rod, all it was dirty. And now after a little WD-40, now it just wants to fall out of the hole. Okay, so anyway, so this is the piece that pops out when you lock the cylinder back and you pull the key. That pops into the groove into this plate, locks it in place, anti-theft device. Okay, they had this truck, they had that truck that this came out of, they had it hot wired because this was stuck down in the hole like that. The ignition switch would not work because it was stuck, because this drives the rod. This drives the rod that runs down the steering column and turns your ignition on and off. So this one little piece had them hotwire the truck so they could use it. So I'm glad I got this part. We're going to clean this. We're going to clean it all. We're going to repaint, and we're going to put some new parts in. But that one little piece, this one little piece, this dirty, grody one little piece just needed some lubrication, and they wouldn't have hot wire the truck.